my new book, No Going Back.
So you talk about your time in the Armed Services Committee from 2013 to 2015. In that period of time, the leader of South Korea was a female president. I'm wondering, who is it that you confused Kim Jong-un with?
Well, I think you need to remember, Margaret, and everybody needs to remember that I've worked on ag policy and federal policy for over 30 years. My time in serving and making policies in this country has been extensive and covered decades.
Right, but you never went to North Korea.
I make no specifics in this book. I talk about the fact that, yes, I have. I've been there. So
you went to North Korea?
You went to the DMZ, and there are details. There are details in this book that talk about going to the DMZ and specifics that I'm willing to share. There's some specifics I'm not willing to share with you. I've traveled the world and I've visited with world leaders, and some of that is referenced in the book. And this anecdote is something that, when it was brought to my attention, we made some changes. And when the book's released, we'll do all that we can to see that is reflected.
Okay. Well, I'm asking about that specifically because you made the point to bring him up twice and that he was a little tyrant.
Do you have a question for me, Margaret?
Yes, I do. South Korea is a treaty ally. North Korea is a nuclear-armed adversary. So that's a pretty big thing to confuse. I know you read this book before it was published because you released video of your recording of the audiobook. You didn't catch these errors when you were recording it?
Oh, Margaret, as soon as it was brought to my attention, I took action to make sure that it was reflected. And listen, this is what is so discouraging about politics and the media today, is that we have the White House that just recently came out and confirmed that President Joe Biden has misspoken, has made mistakes, has even outright lied over close to 150 times just this year, and you've done nothing to question him on any of that. And you're talking about a book that hasn't been released yet, that's been corrected before it's been released, and you haven't said one thing about Joe Biden saying that he was in prison with Nelson Mandela, that he started the civil rights movement. That
if I had an interview with Joe Biden, who I've asked for multiple times, I will definitely ask him about his record, but I'm asking you about your book here, which we have.
I'm just asking for why am I being treated differently than every other person that you've interviewed? I've looked at your last several weeks of your interviews. You don't interrupt other people. You let them talk. Thank you for inviting me to have this conversation about this book. This book is extremely important to the people of this country. It is important because it's a how-to guide of what they can do to have input into their government, how we need breakers and builders in this world. And I'm taking responsibility for the change that we've made.
And for the mistake in the book.
And I've told you that, and I'm no, it's not. What I've said is that I have
You're not taking responsibility for the mistakes in the book.
I've decided this, and I'm saying that this book is very, very good, and I've met with many world leaders, and that there are world leaders that I've met with that are in this book. There are many that I've met with that are not in this book. And this is an anecdote that I asked to have removed because I think it's appropriate at this point in time. But I'm not going to talk to you about those personal meetings that I've had with world leaders. I'm just not going to have that conversation because I think it's important.
You do mention